Now that we've got our styles kind of squared away for this top section, at least for a big browser window, let's copy these styles back over to our style sheets. Now the reason why we're playing with it in the browser is that it gives us an opportunity to play in real time with the code without inadvertently making some permanent changes to our Sass or CSS files. Okay, so let's start at the top here with our site header top. We set the overflow to auto and we set some padding. So I'm going to go to our browser and I'll go to our site header partial, which again is in our Sass components folder. And we don't currently have a selector for the top, so I'm going to add one. I'll use the ampersand to prefix site header dash top. And again, what we're going to do is set the overflow to auto and add our padding. So now, should we use relative CSS units or pixels? I think in this case, since we're dealing with vertical padding, we're not going to break any layout. And as the font size gets bigger, I think it makes sense for that space to also get bigger. So I'm going to use px2rem to convert these to rems, and it'll do 20 pixels and then 0 pixels for the right and left. Okay, I'll save this and go back to the browser. And now the next thing that we did was we added a float to this image. Right now, we don't have any class on here that we can apply the style to. So let's add a class in our index.html file. So I'll jump over there. And then for our logo, I'll add a class and we'll call it site header and then dash logo. Again, we're prefixing it with the name of the component. And then let's jump back to our site header partial and I'll add a new selector here for the logo. We'll use the ampersand dash logo and we'll set it to float left. Okay, I'll jump back to the browser. Our next item that we adjusted is a site header top right div, and we gave it a float of right and some padding to the top. Now we don't have a selector for this if we go back to our editor, so let's add it in. We'll do ampersand top right and float right and padding top. And let's use relative for this. So we'll do px to rem and then 4. So if we go back here, it was float right, padding top 4 pixels. Okay, so we'll save this, go back to the browser. And now the next item we adjusted was this account link here. We added a display of inline block, set a line height of 29 pixels and a margin right of 20 pixels. So I'll scroll down to where we have our account link selector here, and we'll set the display to inline block. The line height, we'll use a relative value here, and we'll pass it 29 pixels. And then margin right, we'll also use a relative value. Let's save this. And then finally we have our search form, and we're setting it to display inline block and a vertical align of top. So now this is a component on its own, but it's inside of another component. So search form is its own component, which begs the question, where do we add these styles? To answer that, we need to think about whether these styles make sense in the search form context, regardless of where it is on the site, or if it makes more sense in the context of the header. Now in this particular case, because this is kind of laying out this component in a particular way in the context of another component, it seems like these styles should be added to the container component instead of the search form component. So in this case, the component that we would deal with is the site header here. So let's go back to our styles and let's add a new selector here, and we'll do a selector for search form. And again, what this will do is create a new selector when it compiles down to CSS. That's .siteSelector space and then .search form. And what we're doing here is displaying it as inline block and vertical align top. Okay, let's save that. And now let's refresh in the browser and see our styles applied, and it looks good.